time around, we'll stay in Nigeria, where Nigerian musician Chinedu Okoli, who is better known as Flavor Nabania, or Flavor for short, is trending on the social media space following his interaction with a guest at E-Money, another entertainer's birthday party on Sunday. As seen in the video, which was circulating on the internet, Flavor was performing one of his hit songs when a male colleague known as Amobi Onyenze came on stage to support Flavor by spraying him money. Now, this is not a bad thing, but from Flavor's reaction, it was crystal clear that he was a bit uncomfortable and got even more uncomfortable when the fan and colleague wanted to touch his head with the money he was spraying. Now, this is actually a style in Nigeria and Africa, most especially Nigeria. When you're spraying people money, you probably spray them on their head. It's a way to show love. Now, Flavor stylishly avoided this man, but later gave him a hug as a consolation. Now, this has left people on social media speculating as to the reason why Flavor might have chosen not to allow this man spray him money on his head, as is most of the norm in Nigeria. Now, that is what is trending at the moment. Lots of people are talking about it, wondering why did Flavor decide to do that. But let's check out some of the comments before I get back to you, Oluchi and Joe. Now, that one is from Noda Chris. Noda Chris says, wisdom is the key, and the application of understanding is precious. That's why he hugged him. Yeah, he hugged him immediately after that incident. Now, that one is from Wendy Peter. Wendy says, not everyone likes people touching their heads. I know they even allow man of God not to talk of a random person. Now, that's Wendy's own idea. Now, we had one from Chidok Splash. Chidok says, yes, stop that nonsense. You can spray every other place, not where the oil or grace is. Now, who says there's oil or grace on the head? But that's what Chidok feels. Now, Mary Joy Posh says, it stops people for a living though. That's another angle. And that one is from Bobby Frederick. Bobby says, he who is conscious about his security will act this way. No be pride, the days are evil, I beg. Now, over to you, Oluchi and Joe. Your thoughts on this?
Well, first of all, I'm not a fan of you spraying me money. And then when you're spraying me money, I think it's also a violation of the Central Bank of Nigeria's directive that money should be kept or not sprayed as clear as possible. But I know we always break this rule. It's clear, it's seen clearly at festivities, events, and so on.
Very much so.
Putting the money on my head, I won't allow that now.
Yeah, well, there's this religious sentimental situation we have in Africa when it comes to money being put on the head. In addition to what Joe has said, I mean, following the law in the country, if the law says you shouldn't do that with our currency because it somehow devalues the currency, the fact that you have to toss it into the air and then put it on someone's head and let it fall on the floor and people step on it. Because that's the trend that we notice. People step on it. Although in French, there's a word for it. It's called faroter. And that means you're spraying the money, faroter. And even in some of the songs, we've heard them use that word, faroter. And it has become a trend because there's even a machine where you can put mint and you just faroter it away.
Now, you know, I like what you're saying, Oluchi, but in this particular incident, I don't think Flavor had an issue with the spraying itself. He just had an issue when it came to his head because he was standing. And we don't have the video played. But he was standing, and then when he came to his head,
Flavor's status, why do you want to spray money on his head? He's a big boy.
Because it's just swag.
Send him that alert. Now, in another trending story, the former presidential aide Reno Omokri, who always has advice for people, has some new advice this time around, special advice to people to move out of poverty. According to him, he said, and I quote, better to be an average guy in a high-rent area than to be a landlord in a ghetto. Move from a low-rent area even if you have to live in a room in a high-rent area. Poverty is not caused by generational curses, but by generational bad habits triggered by your environment. Hashtag Reno's Nugget. Now, this obviously is simmering, it's gently simmering down, but it sparked quite a conversation on social media as people are analyzing the haves and have-nots of it. Now, we have more comments on social media. We had one from C-Money. C-Money says, I don't like to argue with my teacher, but whenever I'm not cleared of his lectures, then I require more practicals. My salary is 10 million a year, and my rent is 12 million. This is in Naira, because I wanted to live in a high rent area. Any sense in that? I feel you, C-Money. Now, that's C-Money's angle to that. Now, this one is Big Dauda. Big Dauda says, I think the right way to put it is, for some of us who can afford to pay rent above what we're settling for right now in the ghetto, could move out to a place with better opportunities in order not to become a product of the dysfunctional environment called ghetto. That's how Big Daudas feels about this. And we had much more reactions on this one. That one is from Stan Onyime. Stan says, generational bad habit is when you need 10 months of your salary to pay for a room in a bid to avoid being a landlord in a ghetto. The ghetto lord will one day be your landlord. That's a fantastic angle. Now, that one is from Ibrahim. Ibrahim said, I have lived long enough to know that there are rich people everywhere and there are poor people everywhere. Time and chance turn it on and off. If you rush into highbrow areas, I bet you may finally find yourself in the village. Take life easy and sail with time. Now, that is what people are talking about on social media. It sparked quite a conversation because this is something that loads of people talk about every other day, wondering if I should move to a different neighborhood, probably, help my network, probably give me, better opportunities, or stay where I am while I try to, manage my income and think of the next line of action. So that's what people are talking about. Oluchi and Joe, I think you have quite some things to say on this.
We have to be very careful with taking advice from people who are being looked up in the society or looked upon. You don't tell me to move out without knowing what my budget is. I like what one of the commenters said there, and he broke it down and made it so clear. You only move when you have more than enough, and you think it is a ripe or you are ripe to leave that vicinity or that environment. You don't just wake up in the morning and then your salary, you're earning about 100,000 naira. It happens. That's what we see today in social media spaces where people are trying to make believe. Fake it till you make it. And in most cases, you check the back end, these guys are crying. The people who stay in suburbs, and guess what? They have peace. I always say one thing, anything that gives you peace of mind. Come on.
But don't you think it's a sacrifice, especially in a place like...
I see it as a motivation. I mean, yes, what he's telling you to do is you need to live outside your comfort zone. For as long as you remain in your comfort zone, you will never grow richer than that.
Motivation on top of how much salary?
No, it's a motivation. But have you heard of a phrase that lacks breeds creativity? When you're in the tight corner, when you're in the tight path in life,
I also think
you realize that you have to
sacrifice.
think outside the box and ensure that you find that funds some way, somehow, legitimately. Yes. I've seen it happen to people.
Let me switch up to my Ghana style. Hey, Charlie. Hey, Charlie. Hey.
Well, Joe and Oluchi, I actually think this could be a sacrifice that people make.
Sacrifice?
A sacrifice. Sacrificing is to give yourself peace of mind from traffic. It could be that. Give yourself peace of mind from some certain...
As long as you can afford it, and you know you don't have to go break the bank, don't call my phone when it's time to pay that rent.
Well, a lot of the rich
angle.
people we see today, they had to give up something. They had to leave that comfort zone. They had to leave that area and move on to something higher, even if they couldn't afford it at that time. It's perception. It's perception. If you're ready for it,
have to give.
You need to plan for it.
I don't agree to that. I don't subscribe to that line.
We'll probably just continue this conversation some other time.
And keep working hard. When it's time, it will come. It definitely comes. There's no race to this success
at all. All right, thank you so much, Elizabeth, for bringing us the latest. Clearly making us have this argument on the program this morning.
Always a pleasure.